Welcome to the next breakthrough with Sean Campbell. On this show, we talk a lot about using AI and automation to simplify, streamline, and scale. But as technology moves faster, the biggest risk for many leaders is really losing the human side of their business, which some might call the soul of the organization. So, our guest today is an expert at bridging that gap between high speed growth and human centric leadership. Dr. Thomas Yates is the academic director of the Thailand Coaching Institute and a PhD in organizational development. He's a Gallup Global Strengths Coach and a specialist in brain-based coaching from the Neuro Leadership Institute, which means he understands the biological realities of how we think and we lead under pressure. So Dr. Yates is also particularly known for his work helping professionals move from competence to confidence. And he also brings a fascinating critical perspective on what he calls technological materialism. It's really the danger of treating innovation as a cure-all while leaving the vestiges of humanity behind. Today, we're going to dive into how to leverage your natural wiring to lead in the AI era, how to stay neurologically clear when the market gets overwhelming, and how to build a growth machine that remains deeply human. So welcome, Dr. Yates. Tom, welcome to the show.
Great. Thank you. Hi, Sean. Nice to see you. Thanks for the nice introduction.
Oh, absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you here on the show. We haven't seen each other for quite a long time. We just caught up offline a little bit before, but I think the first time we met was 2010, maybe? It's been quite a while.
2010, 2011. Yeah.
And
Been a while.
we were on a similar course around coaching and helping others to develop themselves.
hmm Yeah, that was actually my second course in coaching. I believe I did the Neuro Leadership Group level 1 coaching a bit earlier before that. It was kind of before Thailand Coaching Institute, and I was still at American School of Bangkok. And yeah, that's when I met you. We were taking a basic coaching class together. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. I remember those going into the meeting room or the conference room in a hotel, I think it was, somewhere
Yeah.
in the middle of Bangkok.
Yeah. Boy, times have really moved on. I remember back in those days when I first had the idea to move from my career in international education to coaching within Bangkok. I think there were about 30 International Coaching Federation certified coaches, and now there's something like 300 or 400. So it's grown exponentially in the last decade or so. Because I remember back then it was Singapore that was really in the forefront of using coaching with executives and learners, and now that has started shifting a lot towards executives in Thailand, though there still are some hurdles to be made in terms of bringing coaching into the management level, the leadership level.
So, as I would guess, you're not probably Thai. You've got a bit of an American accent. So, how did you end up in Thailand? If you could just tell us how you arrived there.
Boy, yeah, that was back in 1994, so a while ago. I had been teaching in the States for just a few years, and I had visited Thailand about a year before, or somewhere in there. I'd visited Thailand to visit some friends that I met in university, and I just started thinking, well, I wonder what it'd be like to go and live in Thailand for a couple of years, as a kind of a break. And a lot of people do that when they're young. And I got here and, 94, and, I was at my one school for 22 years, so I guess I didn't get the bug to go back to the States. So that's how I ended up here, and I was a teacher for about 4 years, 5 years, and then I slowly got sucked into administration. I got my administrator's license, and then I was principal for several years, then I was head of admissions for a couple of years, then back to principal. And I think that's when I kind of decided or started to have a feeling about I had a lot of questions about formal education, and even the international school I worked at, which was very good, very student-centered, very cooperative learning, working in teams, project-based. It's very good, but it was also, it was kind of getting on me that I just felt like education in an institution is kind of like a shotgun, right? You just fire the shotgun into the crowd and you hope that as many people as possible get something, but there's always people on the edges who just kind of slip by. And I always felt that it's because we're not really focusing on individuals, right? And so that kind of led me to think, well, what do we really need to do? And I couldn't really control, you know, what the classroom's like, but I could control the way that I would like to interact with people and in their learning and in helping them to discover their potential. And I've kind of figured out through talking that coaching was one avenue that actually kind of does this, right? It's totally non-directive. I'm curious about my coachee. I'm allowing them to use their own strengths and insights to create change in themselves that they would really like to see. It was kind of a segue from international education to coaching. It took about maybe 6, 7 years for me to do that. But then finally I moved to Thailand Coaching Institute to help out there. And my title is academic director. I mean, I do take care of most of the academics, but I teach and facilitate and mentor and write up lots of proposals and things like that. So yeah, I've really enjoyed now almost 10 years in using my coaching skills, and I've worked hard to up my skills, and I in the meantime got my PhD and all of that stuff. So I think it's started to give me good insight into the role of the coach, how important it is, and how misunderstood it is as well, right? In general, in the business field, the education field, I'm constantly having to kind of redefine or re-explain to people what coaching is, because people have some ideas that are not are not what it is, and it kind of damages the reputation of coaches, I think, sometimes.
Absolutely. If you look on social media, everyone is a coach. They might be 20 years old, but they are a life coach, or there's business coaches. There's coaching of all different types, right? So, for what you do at TCI, type of coaching that you do is executive coaching, it's strategy. Like, just give us a sense of what TCI is known.
Yeah, I mean, I would say primarily executive, manager, leader coaching, but we offer coaching to everyone, and like what you said, Sean, is true. You know, coaching is not a licensed profession. You know, you don't need, it's not like, getting a law degree or going into medicine or therapy or whatever, where you need to pass exams and be approved by the state or by the government to be a coach. We do have the International Coaching Federation, ICF, which is the largest certification body and accredited body for accrediting coaching programs, certifying coaches. There's about 60,000 coaches in the world that are certified by ICF, and that provides a very consistent range of criterion and helps coaching schools and coaches to have a consistent coaching mentality and practice. So it really is about, like, how do we maintain ourselves ethically? How do we create coaches who have a real coaching mindset that's aligned and provides that consistency when we're going to work in companies. Nowadays, companies know about the different levels of certification for ICF, and they'll request, oh, we want a professional certified coach, a PCC coach, because they know that at that level, the coach has the ability to coach not only the what, but the who of the coachee, to be able to dig deeper with the coachee and help them explore. And anyone can call themselves a coach, but I think it's very important, if you are looking for a coach, to find one that is certified by the ICF, because at least then you have a standard of consistency, like your expectations of what a coach should do is probably going to be there. Yeah.
And to kind of educate people who might not understand the difference between a coach and a mentor, how would you define those things?
Ah, that's great. Yeah, we're actually offering a 2-day course this weekend. First day is like coaching for beginners, second day is mentoring. And mainly it's about the type of relationship that you have when you are a mentor versus a coach. A coach kind of stays out of the way. They allow the coachee to express themselves, to think about what they want, how they want to move forward. The coach is just curious about that and is offering, powerful questions or techniques to move the coachee forward in their own insight and self-awareness, because the more we have self-awareness, the more that we have choice in what we want to do. A mentor is more someone who is developing a relationship with the mentee, is helping them as they grow as a leader, maybe sharing stories with them, experience, skills, but also should be helping the mentee reflect on what they're learning during this partnership. The mentor is much more showing some good examples of what it means to be a leader and helping the mentee reflect on what they're learning from the mentor and grow themselves. So there is a similarity because we, as mentors, we don't want to overpower our mentee and say, this is the way you do it. We want to say, hey, I've been through that situation before. I can remember a time when blah, blah, blah. They tell a nice story and say, so, from the story I told you, what do you get out of that? How do you think you can take, what I told you in that story and add it to your own life or what your experiences have been? So it's really an integration of, what the mentor can share to the mentee and what the mentee can take from that to grow. While with coaching, we're not going to be sharing our stories that much as a coach. We want it fully directed at the coachee and to be a focus of learning about themselves rather than taking too much of the coach's own story, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, and everybody learns differently. Some people will well, they'll just say, "Tell me what to do." Other people will say, "I wanna learn on my own, and I need a bit of a guidance or direction." Questions are a really powerful thing, right? You can change people's lives by asking them the right question. I really believe that. And sometimes there's this, challenge when you're either in a corporate environment or you're even an entrepreneur with maybe a small team. There's this friction between I just need to get stuff done or I need to bring people along and ask them and guide them because you're thinking about investing in that person for the long term. So, what do you tell leaders? Maybe they're under the pressure and they just need to get things done. Why should they invest in spending that time coaching versus just more mentoring, telling people, hey, just go do it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a great question. I think it kind of comes down to the leader's ability to apply situational leadership in different situations, right? So if it's a real pace setting kind of environment where, yeah, things need to get done, maybe that's not the best time for coaching. Maybe that's the time for making sure that everyone has the resources they need to get things done and has the knowledge. Or it could be the time, or it could be something that's very specific that needs to be learned, right? Right. So like I always say, as a coach, if your coachee, you need to like teach them how to use a new piece of sophisticated machinery, you're not going to stand there and go, so how would you use it? You wanna
Yeah,
make sure
if there's
that
a safety issue or something.
yeah, right, right. That would not be an appropriate time. Coaching is just one tool in a whole toolkit. Yeah, and if you're in a rush for time, it's going to be frustrating. You're not going to have the time because coaching does take a bit more time to convey the learning that you want the coachee to have. And in coaching as well is more, it's not just about what you need to do, which in those two cases, it is like, we need to get something done. So let's do it. Okay. We're not going to use coaching in this case, right? I might need to be kind of bossy. I need to be the leader. But if we do have time and I want my team members to learn, not just at the surface level, but at a deeper level, learn about themselves, learn, what is really motivating them to improve in their skills or to be a better communicator or to up their presentation skills or whatever it is, right? Manage their team. What is it in themselves that they need to look at, that they need to learn how to control or to use that's going to help them maximize their outer world and how they behave, in front of other people. And that's the real heart of coaching. Coaching starts really, it should start with exploring values, beliefs, motivation that's driving someone to be engaged, right? Engagement in companies right now is so low. What are I read something like if a company's getting 6 good hours out of an employee over the week, that's great, right? Because the rest of the time they're not doing anything, right? And why aren't they doing anything? I think they're just kind of like bored. And I was talking to, someone I worked with at my school, and she said they just recently brought in a bunch of, Thai teachers to, upgrade some certain skills, like, to learn things, and the leader of this team of teachers was saying, "Oh, they try hard, but they just seem so lazy." And when she said that, I was like, "Is it that they're lazy, or is it just that they have no engagement in their work?" Right? What they're doing is, like, they're not connected to it. If you're not connected to what you're doing or finding what you're doing exciting or at least satisfying you in some way, then you're just gonna kinda get through the day, right? How can you how can you bring leaders up to that next level, which is lively and connected, and they're trying to build relationships and trying to move their team and really believe in them? What causes that in a person? That's 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 the important thing, and that's what you really need to explore as a coach, right?
You've done some research specifically around this idea of technological materialism. Can you tell us about what that means? In a rush to adopt AI, how are leaders going to ensure that sort of remains a tool that helps them for growth rather than a trap that sort of dehumanizes them and their culture? How do you relate that to this idea of technological materialism?
It's just from my experience. I'm more a layperson that has been using AI a lot in the last couple of years, to as my personal assistant for my writing, for my programs that I'm creating, for so many things. Even in my hobbies now, which is music writing. AI is everywhere in my programs now, which is great. I love it. I've never been shy of technology. I think it's wonderful. But I do find that people are jumping into AI sometimes and not being careful about it, or just having it take over. Like, for example, if I'm going to write a proposal, which has several factors in it, and I need to include a schedule and objectives and find some research, uh, it's going to save me a ton of time. But I need to still sit there and edit it and use my brain and go, is that really true? Is my assistant hallucinating a little bit? Or or is this something that's right? And I oftentimes, I need to edit through, and I feel a lot of people are getting really flippant about AI. I was just thinking before we started today, I never really took any computer programming classes except in 19 took a basic computing class. But most of the time we were spent typing out our flowcharts and then checking them to see that they would work or not. And I remember the teacher would always say garbage in, garbage out, right? So whatever you put in as, yeah,
Famous quote.
and it comes back. I have some people that I work with, and that they just create these prompts that are ridiculously small, and they're expecting to get like something that's beautiful. But I know that, I might write a page and a half long prompt because that's going to help me get what I want. I think it's like really using AI is it can be challenging to your critical thinking skills, right? It's going to give you something, but is it really what you want? How specific can you be? People are just kind of like surrendering themselves sometimes to AI. They're just kind of like expecting whatever, and it's half baked and it sounds so AI-ish, and it's like they're losing their personality. It's being subsumed by this AI monster that makes everything kind of bland and sound like AI.
Most AI models are based on, it's based on the generic scrubbing of the internet, right?
Mm,
So
mm,
it's going to be what is it, like the lowest common denominator or the average knowledge versus something that's very specialized. I think it's very general knowledge. And yes, there are powerful models and they're very useful in some ways, but then you also have to ask yourself, it's almost like walking into a room and saying, I need surgery, and you just pick the first person and you just go, yeah, you come do it for me. Or do you go to the specialist doctor and say, okay, you have experience, you know what you're talking about, you have the right tools, AI might be one of them, but it's that wisdom that you've accumulated, that mastery over time that you can put in as input into the AI and get much more powerful answers. Like you said, you wrote something that's a page and a half to ask the
mm.
AI for something. Somebody else might put a sentence and hope it's going to give them, you know, War and Peace or something. I don't know. It's going to give them something amazing that comes out of it. So Yeah, you have to know what's being trained on. You have to know who's behind it. Do you trust it? Where's your data going? All of that information you put into the AI, they might be using and training it. So I think if, nothing's free. If you see something free, then more likely you're the product.
That's very good. Yeah, yeah. I agree with that. Right. It's kind of going back to what we were talking about earlier. I feel that sometimes people are putting the most basic stuff into AI, and they're getting something they're getting something that's, like you said, it sounds like it's scraped from the internet, right? As opposed to really thinking about what are you trying to create and how is that reflecting who you are? Being able to duplicate, or not duplicate, but emulate what you really want. I think it takes more than just like a few sentences. Being able to create something new depends on the types of questions and curiosity we have into creating it. And when we're being more and more curious and trying to find new ideas or explore things, then the AI starts working pretty well. But if we just feed it something that's kind of milk toast, then that's what we're going to get back. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that like as AI becomes more and more powerful, you're going to have these specialist AIs that are very good at certain things, and you'll go to those for that, right? But everything else becomes a commodity. If everyone has the same knowledge, then what is the difference? It's the human being, right? It's the person that's behind and putting the information into the AI who makes the difference. Otherwise, you're just spitting out and regurgitating like just general information that anybody basically can have. It's the guy on the corner standing on a box yelling at everyone. It's the same. It's the same information that you can get anywhere. So I think people have to look back and say, okay, yes, AI is a super powerful tool, but what's going to differentiate you from everyone else is you. It's your soul,
Mhm.
right? It's who you
Mhm.
are as a person. What unique life experiences do you have that you can share and connect with other people? And I think people are gonna crave that human connection as AI starts to take over more and more of our lives.
Right. As we approach the singularity, right? Where man and machine are like, I don't know. It to me it feels like it's coming to us, very quickly. I think about the last few years, where what, 4 years ago, if you told me about AI, my ideas about it are totally different now, right? I'm seeing it as this huge blessing. I love the ability it's giving us as I'm getting older. I've been playing around a lot more with video editing. I've always been fascinated with digital audio workstations, and I just see that they're just pumping AI into everything now. But it's also, it gives you all these options that, you just didn't have before, right? You think about like the videos you can create in Sora or Suno, which is a music editing software. These are just like in the last 2 years, they're amazing. But people are still using them in a way that doesn't really bring their own creativity into. I mean, I don't know. They're being creative in their own way, but I feel that if you can approach like a set of paints, that you very consciously think about how you want to use them, how you want to create something from them, then it's great. But if you just start throwing paint at the wall and say, "Oh, this is art," that's not. I don't know. It's not quite the same. Yeah,
So
but
back to your coaching, the coaching
yes.
business.
Yeah.
How do you see AI impacting coaches and consultants for that matter, any kind of professional services sort of businesses where it's a knowledge-based business? What do you think? Where do you see it impacting you?
So there's a lot of things going on there. Thing number one is, for example, with the Gallup Global Strengths Coach program. And Gallup now, I just took a course of theirs using AI to kind of interpret someone's strengths profile, and what is the ethical way to do it, and what is the way that actually still you can get information about the profile that you might not have been able to do on your own, or it would have taken more time, or it can give you insights about the coachee before you're going to coach them. It can provide you some great questions you could ask. But I also kind of feel like it's taking away from the spontaneity of meeting with the coachee and just being free about their strengths, and combining them in a way that, as a coach, your intuition matters a lot, right? And I feel that I'm just wondering, that intuition, that coaching presence is are we really able to emulate that? I'm not sure. And I've been seeing online a couple different companies that are basically, I think what they're doing is recording like maybe a bunch of your coaching sessions and then using those as models for coaching the coachee being coached by this AI coach that is emulated on yourself. And I've heard a couple of the recordings and it's fascinating, but I also kind of feel that, oh, you're kind of getting like a generic coach, and when that coach is coaching you, that AI coach, there's kind of something missing. There's not that, like, good coaches I know, they're curious about, you can approach someone when you're coaching in many different ways. It's just kind of like that's the art of coaching, right? There's a science where you're using certain competencies, you're using certain processes kind of consistently. But then there's an art of coaching where you might move the coachee in a totally different way if you experiment with what you're hearing from the coachee. And I'm not sure if that can be emulated by these AI coaches. From what I've heard, I don't really hear it. But maybe I don't know. The future is like unknown.
You're expanding the scale of how you can impact people out there by the technology. So a lot of people can go and get coaching through an AI. Um, but I don't think it replaces, like you said, the heart of it, the emotional connection that sometime through serendipity, through spontaneity might come out in a one-to-one live session with a human being, whether it's remote or whether it's in person. But giving people at least that confidence that they can ask an AI and at least get a first draft, like a rough draft machine, I would say. And then they can go from there and they can engage with a human to kind of vet it out and keep going and build that bond, right? I don't and I mean, it is scary because you're seeing AI and videos and now, like, synthetic artificial people on screen,
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
there has been cases where younger people, may even older people, have made kind of that emotional connection to a chatbot, which is it blows my mind that that happens, but you never know where people engage, so it'll be really interesting as we go forward, as people start to make, like, I say, like, digital twins of themselves,
Mm,
right? And AI
yeah.
themselves, and, they would have a digital Tom, digital Dr. Yates, and then, yeah, you would be guiding people through that. I think it's not gonna replace somebody actually sitting in the office eye to eye with you and having that intuition, that human connection.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting about I mean, people going to ChatGPT or whatever for therapy or for coaching. And there was quite a kerfuffle there a couple months ago when version 4 I think was discontinued, and that was the version 4 of ChatGPT was the one everyone loved to talk with. And on the different Reddit boards and stuff, people were just like there were people just suffering from losing their therapist, right? It's
Lost a
amazing,
girlfriend or boyfriend or something.
Yeah, yeah. But I've played with it. I've played with GPT as my coach, as my therapist. You just kind of feed it whatever, give me therapy in the style of Carl Jung, right? And I make sure it has all this material and I let it do that. And it's very interesting, right? Because I think it is asking those types of deep questions, but and I'm not saying I don't get new awareness or insight from things like that, but there's something just kind of missing from it as well, right? That just can't be emulated by a human, at least not yet, right? I don't know.
With all
Us.
of this change, you've got digital humans coming or digital employees or AI
Mm,
employees coming, and you have people AIing themselves, people putting in their
mm,
knowledge base into AI. As a leader, how do you deal with this new reality? Like, what advice would you give, like, a corporate leader, somebody, or even an entrepreneur that's managing a team? Now that we know
mm.
AI is gonna be able to handle a lot of these technical tasks.
Well, there's always been this yearning or movement, especially from the International Coaching Federation, that they say like coaching should be for everyone. There should be a democratization of coaching that you know, companies have for so long just focused on getting coaching to their leaders, but what about the managers or just regular people in the company. Why can't everyone have coaching? And I see that as a big possibility. Like you were saying, like as a first draft or just kind of dipping your toes, I think that this online coaching could be quite useful. I think it's even up to the level now that I lots of companies I think are using AI coaching. From what I've experienced from listening to different coaching sessions, I just feel that like you said, there's a huge part of coaching is creating that trust and safety, or what they call psychological safety now, right? Is that created with a bot? I don't know. Do we feel psychologically safe chatting? I guess some people do. I don't
Yeah, I think it
know.
might be a generational thing as well. Younger folks
Yeah.
sometimes are very
Yeah.
comfortable, sending text messages and
Mhm.
interacting with technology. Some I won't say how old I am, but people that are older, we grew up in
Yeah.
an analog world before digital,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
and we like to get out and we like to talk to people and we like to engage and get away from the technology sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting what will
And
happen as the generations go.
yeah, because that rapport, that relationship, that's what helps to create, an ability to be vulnerable, right? We need to allow a certain level of vulnerability on both sides, the coach and coachee, because that helps us to go deeper, to share deeper. If we don't feel that level of kind of like whatever psychological safety, we'll generally just stay at kind of a top level. We won't feel like we have the like we want to go deeper, right? And I've felt that I've been coached a lot as well. I coach a lot with my upper level friends because we just kind of enjoy it. And the best coaching sessions I have are the ones where I feel safest to share things that are quite deep, and I know that my coachee is going to respect, my own being, and is allowing me to open at this deeper level that I'm allowing the millions of thoughts that we have in our brain that are just kind of like encased there most of the time. When we feel like we can be vulnerable, then those things start popping up and we start getting new realizations. And that's kind of one thing I haven't quite seen in the AI coaching. It seems to be quite good at focusing on maybe changing behaviors, changing habits. But if we're going to really explore who we are at a deeper level and make these fundamental shifts, maybe that's not quite there yet. So I'm hopeful actually. I don't want to lose a job from AI, but I think if it can be a tool that companies can use and it can provide coaching for anyone in the company who wants it. Wow, that's amazing because that's the idea about a coaching culture, right? That everyone is using coaching communication skills within the company, everyone. And when coaching is only limited to leaders or executives or whatever, you're not going to have that. Everyone else is just going to keep doing what they're doing.
No, that's great insight. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today. If people want to get a hold of you or Thailand Coaching Institute, what's the best way for them to do that?
Director at coachthai.com is an easy way to
Director at
get hold.
coachtie.com.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Tom. Appreciate all the insights and sharing with us how you see the coaching careers and coaching industry changing. And I think AI is going to have a massive impact to all of us. It'll be curious to see how the next generations and leaders looking forward are going to adapt to it. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thanks for having me, and anytime. I really enjoyed our conversation, and yeah, I think we have a lot of things that we could talk about. So if you ever want to have a part two, just let me know.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.